Pia hides from Mahana. Nishan says to Pia, you shouldn't go in front of her until she recalls everything. Mahana says, I am a human. Pia says, I think we can go out. Pia comes out. Mahana says she is a devik. She tried killing me. She is your wife, right? Anj says yes, she was my wife. Vedashri says they had a huge fight and she left the house. It's been 5 years to their separation. Don't you remember that? Anj says yes. Nishant says you shouldn't have come in front of Mohan. You have to hide until she believes that she is a human. Pi says everyone is trying, why won't I? Savi says, what are you doing, Naiman? You shouldn't have eaten this medicine. He sings and says, yes, I am an idiot. If I weren't, I would have told you I like you. I hid it. I really liked you. Then Daruba also tried to hint it. I didn't want to say, but this medicine. So I will say it. I love you, I want to spend my life with you. He faints. Anj says, Pia, Mahana is asleep. Come out. Pia is planting. She says they are nice, right? He says yes. Anj says, Pia, Mahana got mad at you when she saw you. Pia says, I will stay here with the plants. Anj says, here. She says, yes, I love plants. Anj says, okay. Anj says, we will find a solution. Pia says, did you notice? He says, you dyed your hair. She says it happened on its own. Anj says, are you okay? You have been acting weird since we returned from the jungle. Pi says, yes, it feels weird, but I'm okay. Anj says, we have to get it checked. Naiman opens eyes. Savi says, are you okay? He says, am I sick? Savi says, you ate that medicine. He says, if I said something weird, then don't consider it. It wasn't me. Savi says, we have to go to Dee's house. Avi says, how long will we make her believe that she is a human? Chetali says, what if her powers come back? Naiman and Savi come in and say, we won't let that happen. This medicine made her lose her powers. We made this liquid from the medicine. You can add it to her food or even make her inhale it. Nishant says, but you have to make sure Mahana doesn't get mad. She can get her powers back if she does. Vedashri says, then we have to keep Pi away from her. Vedashri and Chetali come to Mahana and give her coffee. Mahana says, why are you giving me everything in the room? I am not sick, I could make my own coffee. Chetali says, we made it for you. Mahana gets her powers back and throws it on the floor. Naiman says, where are Duffy's clothes? Savi says they are gone for laundry. He says we should give Kichdi to her as well. Savi says, up to you. Naiman says, is she mad that I told her? Or that I backed out? Duffy laughs. Nishant says to Savi on call, Pandit Ji told me about a good guy. You should meet him. Savi says, what? Nishant says, yes, for proposal. Savi says, okay, I will. Mahana says, why are you fooling me? I know I am Akane. I have powers. I will kill everyone. Chetali says, please calm down. Mahana says, stop lying. I won't leave anyone. Tell me the truth. Anj sprays room freshener. There's that medicine in it. Mahana calms down. He says it's room freshener. Mahana says, why are you scared, Vedashri? Was I angry at you? Anj says, because of the accident this happens. You aren't well. Mahana hugs Vedashri. Mahana says, I am sorry. You take care of me and I was mad at you. Chetali says, your family. Mahana says, I am glad you left that Pia. She makes me very angry. I will find you another girl. Duffy plays with Savi. Naiman says, I don't feel well. There is something. Savi says, what? Naiman says, people show off all the time. Like these men who come with proposals. Savi says, Pandit Ji know him and his family very well, so you don't have to worry. Naiman says, I didn't mean that. Savi says, that's your problem. You say something and then you don't mean it. Mahana says, Ansh, this is Vidya and her parents. They are looking for a guy for their daughter. I met them in the neighborhood. I know you don't know her. You can meet her and let me know. Come here. Ansh says, I am Fine. Pia is looking out. Mahana says, do you want to ask Vidya anything? Anj says no. Anj says to everyone, what is Mahana doing? Pia would be so mad. I can't marry to live this lie. We have to tell Mahana that Pia is still my wife. Shekha says we will find a way out. You should go to Pia. Pia has tied Vidya with trees. Anj says, what is this, Pia? Pia says, I don't like anyone taking my things. Anj says she would die. Pia says, I don't care. Anj says, this can't be you. Pia says, it's me. She ties his legs. Anj breaks the branch and saves Vidya. Savi comes back with the guy. Naiman says, you look happy. She says, it's the same guy. He lives in US. I will move there. It isn't a bad idea. He's a nice guy. There shouldn't be any problem. Naiman says, so you would leave us all? Vedashri says, what is wrong with Pia? Anj says she has been acting weird since we returned from the jungle. The tree was cursed. Pia can't harm anyone. Anj says, I have told Nishant. He's finding a solution. Anj says, thank God Addy and Pari didn't see Pia like that. Shekha says, you should be with Pia. We will handle Mahana. A creature brings Nishant a stem of the same tree. Chetali says, I mixed the medicine in the milk. Mahana says, what medicine? Vedashri says, Shera's medicine. Mahana says, Vidya and her family left. I don't know. We will find another family. I have invited our neighbors, we would tell them we are looking for a girl. Anj says, Pia, let's go to the room. She says there are no plants there. I don't want to be without plans. Pia says, I feel very powerful like I see Endu. Anything he says, we will bring the real you back. He takes Pia to the room. Pia says, why are you so scared of Mahana? You're such a loser, Davansh. Mahana comes there. Pia hides. Mahana says, I heard a girl's voice. Anj says, I was watching a video. Nishant tries to do test on the stem. The stem burns his lab. Nishant says, what was that? Why did it try to burn the witch book? I should try to read about it. The book shows Mahana's face. Nishant says, is Mahana related to this? How? He sees Vishalika's face too. Chetali says, what a decoration. Mahana says this is to help Anj with his loneliness. I saw a girl in the house. It's wrong. I won't let him go on the wrong path. I have planned Anj's Swamwudu. They are here. Chetali says, our neighbors are here. We have to hide. Nishant reads. Vishalika was a witch and her powers used to go in front of a tree. Nishant says this means Pia is under Vishalika's effect. If she comes in front of Mahana, they would kill each other. Mahana says, Anj, get ready. Vedashri says, we will get him ready. Anj says, I can't marry due to her fear. Shekha says, we can't let our plan fail. We can't let her be a witch again. Anj says, I know all that. Capital I. Can't marry another woman. Precap. Anj says, I will marry. Pia says, what? She comes in front of Mahana. Pia becomes a